Right now, the NCR is under GCQ, but a lot of our tourist spots are already under modified GCQ.
Yeah,
Which
MGCQ.
means, yes, under modified GCQ, pwede na ang non-essential travel or tourism. For
Tourism, okay.
GCQ, hindi pa pwede. For example, here in NCR, we want to, for may cabin fever, we want to go to the tourist spots, hindi pa pwede because we are still under the GCQ. But for modified GCQ, pwede na. But still, even if they are under the modified GCQ, for the hotels, because people now are maybe hesitant to travel because of safety, they're worried that they might get COVID. So we have become stricter. Our accreditation now it includes safety and hygiene, and it was approved by the Department of Health and the WHO, and it's according to international standards. So you cannot open your establishment, hotel, resort, etc., if you do not have a certificate to operate by the Department of Tourism. Of course, we have to be careful. But under modified GCQ, 50% pa lang rin. Hindi yung full capacity ang pwede na maraming turista. Kasi gusto natin unti-untiin. Unti-unti. And then, of course, importante ang right now when you look at tourist spots, importante rin ngayon is if we talk to the local government units. Because though we look at the hotels, the resorts, they cannot operate without a certificate to operate from the DOT, with the LGU ang magi-implement. So they have to show us how they implement physical distancing, how they do contact tracing, how are their health protocols. And so far, it's been good. Like, for example, I'm looking at, for example, NCR, we are now under the MGCQ. Uunahin yan yung by land muna. Diba? So, unang top of mind, people are saying, gusto namin umakyat ng Baguio because that's the summer capital of the Philippines. I already spoke to Mayor Magalong. Oh, can I just say that he's such a fantastic mayor? In fact, he is when you talk about COVID, di ba nagka-zero COVID siya earlier on? Kasi ang galing ng ginawa niya sa Baguio. I asked him, what are your plans for tourism? He actually plans to open September pa, kahit na under modified GCQ siya. Because gusto niya safe but sure. He wants to make sure that ililimit niya yung mga number of people na aakyat. Because hindi na daw pwede yung Baguio na punong-puno. Which actually makes it special because you know that this man really cares about the tourists. Gusto niya pag umakyat, hindi magkaka-outbreak because of tourism. He told me that yes, their income comes from tourism, but all he cares about now is safety, which is very good for us. We've also talked to Governor Art Yap of Bohol. He's looking now at about July or maybe August for maybe domestic tourism. He wants to put up a lab to test RT-PCR lab because he wants everybody to enter na magta-test na COVID negative. Because so far now in Bohol, dalawa pa lang ang COVID positive, but yung na-quarantine, they weren't the locals and na-quarantine agad. So you can say Bohol is has zero COVID. We're also looking at Palawan. Palawan naman, they're already preparing. Again, I noticed with the tourist spots, they're not really rushing because they want when the tourists finally come, yung alam na nila yung protocols, which I think is very good. Boracay naman, the Boracay Interagency Task Force was extended for another year. So that the opening will be under the Boracay Interagency Task Force.
Okay.
Secretary, you were talking about Baguio imposing a carrying capacity. You were in fact planning to do that, diba, before the pandemic. Are you going to institutionalize this, at least in the major tourist destinations?
Yes,
because of the pandemic?
Ma'am, we have to because hindi na pwede yung siksikan. Physical, while there is no vaccine, physical distancing is very important. So even with Baguio, I remember when we were talking to Mayor Magalong last January, he said, mahihirapan nga daw magkaroon ng carrying capacity. But now he said that with this COVID, wala pang vaccine, kailangan talaga i-limit yung number of tao na aakyat sa Baguio.
Ma'am, do we have an idea of ano yung proportion ng nabababa ang carrying capacity? Or hindi bababa yung carrying capacity, but bababa yung kayang i-accommodate ng any particular place?
Basta it's
Is there
always
a rule of
50%.
thumb?
For example,
50%.
with regard to Boracay, the carrying capacity is 19,000 a day. So it has to be half of that or even lower. I noticed naman, I'm very grateful to our tourism stakeholders. I noticed that when I talk to them, gusto rin nilang safe, slow but sure. Because magkaroon ng outbreak lang sa isang tourist spot, hindi lang yung tourist spot na yon ang masisira, kundi buong Pilipinas. So very careful sila. But of course, excited ako magka-modify GCQ and finally to revive tourism slowly but surely kasi gaya ng sinabi ko, maraming nawalan ng trabaho.